23 days. That is how long it's been since these seats were filled with screaming Eagles fans. And today, the San Francisco 49ers will be greeted by a packed house at Lincoln Financial Field as the Eagles' 2021 home opener is upon us. The Birds are locked in, looking to build on an impressive Week 1 win, and we are here to get you all set for it here on the Kickoff Show, presented by Axalta. Thrilled to have you joining us. Amy Campbell, as always, joined by Fran Duffy. Fran, a lot of energy in the air in Philadelphia today with this home game, a full house of Eagles fans. It's been a long time since we've seen that. You can feel the excitement.
I know you felt it driving in. I felt it driving in. It is juiced outside at Lincoln Financial Field across the street. I cannot wait to feel the excitement from over here because you know we're going to feel it.
Oh, absolutely. And I think we'll probably hear the fans from probably even in studio, even though I think we've got some soundproof situation. That is how excited these fans are today. Of course, the Eagles looking to build on a really impressive opening week win last week, 32-6 over the Atlanta Falcons. The Eagles have won their last two against San Francisco, 7 of the last 9. This is a very different Niners team than the Eagles faced last year, which we will break it down. But let's talk about this offense as a whole a little bit. Last week, we weren't totally sure what we were going to get. We saw a really clean, really buttoned up, very creative game put together by the new head coach, Nick Sirianni.
I thought it was a really highly schemed offense. They did a lot to help everybody involved. And that's one of the things we talk about a lot over on the Eagle Eye in the Sky podcast, Amy, is that when you have an offense that is quarterback friendly, well, that typically means that you're friendly for the offensive line, the wide receivers, the running back. It's almost like magic that when things are easy for the quarterback, now all of a sudden you're moving the football and everybody can get involved. So when you get that aspect of it from a pure X's and O's standpoint, but then look at the execution. And really, you look across the field, the offensive line had a strong game. All of the receivers, all the pass catchers, all the skill talent, they were all involved in some way, shape, or form. And the point guard of the whole thing was Jalen Hurts. And I thought that he executed at such a high level last week against Atlanta. Just a great start overall for this Eagles offense.
I love that you said point guard, because what I was about to bring up was this quote from Nick Sirianni this week that I thought it was absolutely brilliant. And I've said this for years, that he put it into words so perfectly about his quarterback, Jalen Hurts. He said it's like a jump shooter, right? You want to see the ball go through the hoop a few times, give some positive momentum. So he starts Hurts off with some throws that he likes and then opens it up from there. And look, the performance we saw from the quarterback last week, a great game from the offensive line, always really helpful. But this young quarterback completed 77% of his passes, 264 yards, 3 touchdowns, also productive on the ground, 61 yards on 7 carries. A really impressive performance from a quarterback and a coach who put him in a situation to do really well.
They did a lot of RPOs. They had the screen game. You had lots of different ways to get the ball out of Jalen Hurts' hands fast. He had the shortest average depth of target in the NFL amongst all starting quarterbacks a week ago. So that means the ball's not traveling too far downfield. When you look at his starts last year, his average depth of target was one of the highest in the NFL. Wow. And so a huge difference in what Jalen Hurts was asked to do last Sunday against Atlanta. Does that mean that's exactly what we're going to see here today against San Francisco or for every single game moving forward? No, not necessarily. But you're just trying to get him into a rhythm, build that confidence, allow him to, again, be the point guard of this offense with so much speed on the field. Well,
and I think we were just looking at Jalen Reagor there when you're talking about short depth of target, his big touchdown on a short throw and get that guy in space, and an amazing block from Jordan Mailata, which we will also talk more about in a little bit. But let's take a look at the offensive starters here for the Eagles, just kind of looking at a lot to look forward to here for the Eagles. Of course, we have the new left tackle signed to a 4-year extension last week, a young player with a bright future ahead. A lot of young talent here, a lot of bright futures ahead here for the Eagles. And look, you got to get the feeling that this offense is really coming together with potentially what it's going to look like for the future here in Philadelphia.
I mean, just look at the skill talent. We know that the offensive line is really, really strong, and it was really strong a week ago against Atlanta, Amy. I thought that even going back and watching the film, they were dominant up front, especially in the first half. So it does not shock me that they came out in the second half and wanted to just assert themselves with the ground game and run the football, because they were getting some great movement. There could be opportunity to do that again here today. But you look at the skill talent and you look at Devontae Smith. You look at Jalen Reagor. Ton of speed there at wide receiver. Quez Watkins, right? So much speed at receiver. But if you're going to have a fast offense, you need speed across the board. So you've got the playmaking ability of Jalen Hurts. We know that Miles Sanders can be that game breaker on any given snap. And then you look at Dallas Goedert. We saw the catch that he made down in the red zone. Zach Ertz used on that 28-yard catch on that out and up route, right? So we see the ability to stretch the field with every single position on offense. That's a really exciting roster when you take into account the scheme and the offensive line.
Yeah, not a one-dimensional offense. I think that's a great point. We saw Nick Sirianni use every tool in the toolbox that he has here. The Eagles, you want to talk about the running game with Miles Sanders and rookie Kenny Gainwell. Again, so much to look forward to. The Eagles had the second best rushing yards in the NFL last week, 173. Miles Sanders was the leading offensive producer, 113 yards from scrimmage, and then Kenny Gainwell with his first NFL touchdown. And what I really liked that we heard from Coach this week about Gainwell is that he said he earned that opportunity because he showed he was willing to block. First of all, you can't talk enough about guys who are willing to block, but I love that the coach kind of made that a priority and said, look, when you're going to show that you're willing to do kind of the thankless work there, you're going to get the opportunity. And the ball came his way, and first NFL touchdown in his first game.
You have to earn your role on offense. You have to earn your role on defense. We talk about that with pass rushers, is that you earn the right to rush the passer when you defend the run. And I think it's the same thing with these wide receivers. We saw the blocking on the perimeter from J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, from Devontae Smith, from Jalen Reagor, from Quez Watkins, everybody involved from that aspect. But then you talk about pass protection. It's pretty clear that Kenny Gainwell, when this team goes into 2-minute hurry-up situations, he's out there on the field, and I think that shows the amount of trust that this coaching staff has in a rookie 4th or 5th round pick. I think that's big for his future here in Philadelphia.
So here on the other side of the ball for the Eagles defense, we saw, again, a fantastic game from them last week. To me, what was most impressive is that they came out struggling a little bit to stop the run. The Falcons were moving the ball, but the Eagles held in the red zone, didn't allow a touchdown, and then made some fantastic adjustments to really just make the Atlanta offense really uncomfortable. Let's take a look at these, the defensive starters here. Javon Hargrave, healthier, clicking more and more, came off, we saw him feel more comfortable towards the end of last season, but he's healthy. He's really hitting his stride. 2 sacks last week, and I think we can't say enough things about the direction he's heading in this Eagles defense.
Made his debut here in Eagles Green a year ago, week 2 against the LA Rams. Clearly was not healthy to start the season. Had a couple of injuries over the course of the summer, missed all of training camp, and just slowly worked his way back to full health. So we got to see the real Javon Hargrave on the back end of the year last year, but then him in training camp, dominant. Joint practices, dominant. Carry that over to the regular season. What do we see against Atlanta last week? Dominant. So I think that's going to be the identity of this Eagles defense, is that front. Hargrave, Cox, Graham, Sweat, Barnett, coming in waves. Milton Williams, the rookie 3rd round pick. Everybody chipping in. I think it's going to be the identity of this defense.
Look, we're looking at the captain here, but what I love that he said this week, talking about giving some of the young players, not giving the young players opportunities, but the young players having opportunities, and just the depth on the defensive line. This has kind of always been the MO here for the Eagles, is being able to rotate lots of guys through here. But he said, look, a healthy, fresh Milton Williams rookie is a lot better than a tired Fletcher Cox. So just seeing that leadership. And look, let's talk about another young player who the Eagles have a lot to look forward to. Josh Sweat signing a contract extension. Look, he's kind of been a guy we've been, he hasn't played a whole lot, but he's always had a role. And I think the best football is ahead of him. Obviously, the team has chosen to invest in him. He's going to have a bigger and bigger role as things move forward. There he is right there.
It's been great to see, because I think both he and Jordan Mailata you could put into that same bucket of watching player development. And I think that we all get so excited about these rookies when they first come in. What's the impact they're going to have? How come they're not Pro Bowl players right away? Because you see that sometimes around the NFL, and you've seen it here at times in Philadelphia, right? But you have to allow these players to come in and develop. With both Jordan Mailata and Josh Sweat, year 1, basically redshirt years. Year 2, a little bit of a role player, rotational kind of player, and a backup. Year 3, you start to see more playing time, impact plays, starting to get some starts under their belt. And now, going into year 4 and beyond, they both sign extensions. They both are viewed as linchpins of this Eagles roster moving forward into the future.
Well, and I love that comparison, especially because, my goodness, they could not be more different?
Yeah.
Besides the fact that they play on opposite sides of the ball, Jordan Mailata, who had never played any football before he came here, Josh Sweat, who was the #1 recruit in the country the year that he went, that he signed with Florida State. So just coming from very different football backgrounds, but that speaks so much to the coaching staff because not every NFL staff can develop players like that wherever they're coming from.
Yep.
And so the coaches here do a fantastic job with that as well. Let's talk a little bit about that challenge that this defensive front is going to have today, because we really need to talk about this Niners offense. It's one of the best in the NFL. Kyle Shanahan, one of the best offensive minds in the NFL. And last year, again, absolutely ravaged with injuries. So the team that the Eagles are facing today, very different. Jimmy Garoppolo now in his 5th season with Kyle Shanahan. He threw the ball really well last week in a win over the Detroit Lions. They hung up 41 points on the Lions, but we saw a little bit of #3 pick Trey Lance in there as well. So the Eagles need to be prepared for both quarterbacks today. Some really good things from Trey Lance, some fantastic things from Jimmy Garoppolo. What kind of challenge does that pose to defense?
So just looking at the quarterback picture there, as you mentioned, Jimmy Garoppolo, when he is in the lineup for Kyle Shanahan, their record is really, really strong over the last few years. He has been a very effective quarterback, obviously led them to that Super Bowl a couple of years ago. But when they put Trey Lance in there, that adds more layers to an already very layered offense for the San Francisco 49ers. And remember, he missed that last week leading up to the game against Detroit. He had a chip bone in his finger from that final preseason game, so wasn't really as involved in the week of practice and during the installing the game plan. I would expect, I think he was on the field for 4 snaps last week against the Lions. That's going to be at least doubled, would be my guess here today. I think you're going to see much more of the #3 pick. They spent 3 first-round picks on this guy. They're going to try and get him on the field and have him be a part of this offense until he's ready to take the reins. So the Eagles have to be ready when he's out on the field, not just pass game, run game, and that's really what this offense is all about anyway.
Ooh, okay, so I just have to point out Brandon Graham, who always brings the energy, but this is a little bit extra, breaking the team down. It must be, the atmosphere in there must be absolutely insane. Let's get back to their matchup here. The Niners, their offense is, like you said, multifaceted, lots of weapons there, but really, really, I would say if you were going to give them an identity, it's that they get things going with the run game, then take the deep shots with the weapons on the outside. Guys like Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, one of the best tight ends in the NFL. The run game is really where it all starts. And look, Raheem Mostert out most of last season, still out this year. Rookie running back Elijah Mitchell, 104 rushing yards last week in his debut. So is it kind of like, plug and play? The offensive line's amazing and just put whoever you want in there?
The scheme is a huge headache for everybody on defense, and so the Eagles have to come out. P's and Q's you got to be on top of everything going up against this front, because they want you moving side to side. With all of their run schemes, they want you going sideline to sideline, and it's not just run game, it's play action off of that, and they both work in concert. Run game helps play action helps run game. Everybody's got to cross their T's, dot their I's in this one.
Look, we heard the coaches talk this week about defensive eye discipline, not looking the wrong place, because they're going to want to send your eyes one way, the ball's going to go the other way, and as coach said, boop, the ball is way down the field. Eye discipline going to be a big key for this defense today. All right, with that, we are now going to go back over to Lincoln Financial Field and bring in Dave Spadaro coming to us from the field today. Dave, it is a big day. It's been a long time since the Link has been rocking with a packed house of Eagles fans, bringing that energy. What is the feeling like right now, and how is that going to set the tone for the Eagles today on their home turf?
Yeah, Amy, it's great. First of all, it's fantastic to have everybody back. Welcome back to all the fans here who lined up early in the day to start their tailgating and to resume their traditions. And frankly, inside it's completely electric. I mean, the people are bouncing off the walls here. It's awesome. And I think that it's really going to be a positive for the Eagles players if they can handle the emotions. We'll talk about that in just a minute, but certainly this place will be jumping in a big, big way.
So, Dave, I want to get a storyline to this game. Outside of the sunglasses, which you pull off much better than I would, by the way. To me, what's the biggest storyline? That's my biggest question for you going into this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about the emotion of things, Fran. I mean, like, the Eagles had a huge win in Atlanta. This is a team that went there as a team that nobody really around the league was talking about, media not talking about the Eagles. They all believe, we talked about it in the pregame show last week, and they go out and beat the Atlanta Falcons. Now all eyes are on the Eagles. And so how do they handle prosperity? How do they play? And with Jalen, who's now all of a sudden 3 touchdown passes, 364 yards passing last week, 264 passing. How do you handle the prosperity? How do you play at the same emotional pitch? How do you have, as Nick Sirianni likes to say, that dog mentality? It sounds like it's really easy to get back up emotionally. I've been around long enough to know that it is often not the case. So we'll find out if the Eagles actually believed and did what they said they were doing, and that was flushing that Atlanta Falcons game early in the week and focusing on San Francisco today.
Yeah, I think we're going to learn a lot about the team and this new coaching staff, how they get these guys ready to handle that success from last week. What do you think the Eagles need to do to get the win today, Dave?
Yeah, my big story with that, the big kind of, thing they have to do on the field is what was so impressive last week, defense. 0 for 2 for the Falcons in the red zone, just 6 points. Eagles offense, 3 of 3 in the red zone. I think both teams have a chance to be able to move the football today between the 20s. So who wins in the red zone? And with a San Francisco back 4 or back 7 that's got 3 players out, Greenlaw and the 2 cornerbacks, there should be some opportunities for the Eagles, who I believe today, Fran and Amy, I think they're going to hit them with some screens. I think they're going to throw the ball down the field. And I do think the Eagles believe that they can run and play a little pound football against the Niners defense.
Won't that be fun to watch? Dave, we will catch up with you later. Thanks so much.
All right, guys, have a great one.
Oh, just the sound of that place. I can feel it from here.
Yep, no question.
What do you think is going to make the difference for the team today?
I think a big one, when you talk about this Kyle Shanahan offense and the way that they try and create chunk plays. We talked about the run game, play action. The big thing, though, you want to make sure that you are stopping the yards after catch. The tackling must be sound here this week. We saw early last week against Atlanta, the tackling wasn't as good, and we saw some chunk plays both on the ground and through the air. The Eagles have to be more sound tackling the football to the ground. Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, the running backs out of the backfield. Brandon Ayuk, remember that long screen for a touchdown he scored against the Eagles last year on Sunday Night Football where he hurdled a defender along the sideline. The tackling must be good here against the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, we haven't even mentioned Ayuk today. That just goes to show you how formidable this offense is, all the players they have. And kind of on that note, Fran, I'm going to say that the team needs to make sure that they limit the big plays. This is a Niners offense that is known for getting a couple of deep shots, whether it's in the run game, whether it's through the air. Jimmy Garoppolo led the league last week in yards per attempt with 12.6. So the Eagles need to be careful that, look, they can hold, that defense can hold. If all of a sudden you get gashed for a big play here or there, that makes the difference in the game very quickly. This is a Niners offense that likes to spread things out and get the ball going down the field very quickly, so the Eagles defense needs to be very disciplined there. All right, we are now going to head back over to Lincoln Financial Field to check in with Mike Quick and Merrill Reese, who I know are excited for this Eagles home crowd. Mike and Merrill are giving us their players to watch.
Thanks, Amy. It's a perfect day, a perfect football day here at Lincoln Financial Field with 70,000 people set to rock this place. Mike, who is your player to watch?
I think it's easy today. Last week I went with the obvious one, the quarterback, but today I'm going with the guy responsible for the quarterback's backside, Jordan Mailata. This is going to be a huge test for him when you've got Nick Bosa and company on that side coming after him. So that's going to be my guy to focus on.
You know, the 49ers can move the football, and they have some terrific receivers. Deebo Samuel is one, and the tight end, one of the best in football, George Kittle, and they run the football. So I think it's up to the second level to provide some stops. So my Eagle to watch today wears number 49, and that's Alex Singleton. Okay, Amy, back to you.
All right, thanks, guys. The Philadelphia Eagles and Axalta Coating Systems have built a roster of all-pro teachers. Go to philadelphiaeagles.com/Axalta All-Pro Teachers to view this year's outstanding recipients. And Eagles fans score official NFL gear every week just by drinking Pepsi. Purchase Eagles Pepsi bottles or packs, scan the code to start building points, and redeem them for Eagles gear or a shot at the grand prize every single week. Visit madeforeagleswatching.com for rules and to enter. Now, when Alex Singleton had the season of his career last year, it was hard to imagine how he could build on a team-high 120 tackles this season. Well, after just a game, the now Eagles captain is picking up right where he left off, adding 7 tackles in the season opener and once again using his on-field play to raise money for an incredible cause. Singleton joins Mike Quick for this week's one-on-one presented by Pondla Hockey.
Hey, Alex, congratulations on your win last week against the Atlanta Falcons. And before we get into tackling those guys on the field, you have an initiative, Tackling Inclusion for Special Olympics. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
It all started last year. Obviously, I work with Special Olympics in any city that I'm in. And yeah, this year it's tackle inclusion, and it's pledgeit.org/Alex-Singleton. Super easy. And just every tackle I get, money gets to go to Special Olympics Philadelphia. So, hopefully we're giving lots of money back to Philadelphia this season.
Well, with all the tackles you had last season, I think you should do well with that.
Exactly. We're just, if we can, we want to fund the whole Special Olympics. So.
So now tackling those guys with the ball. It started out last week that didn't happen so well on the first 2 drives. What were they doing so well, and then how did you combat that?
That first 12 on offense, I think when you have that script and you've really been preparing for 2.5 weeks for that first game, without preseason, there's not a lot of live football going for the defense. And so you kind of just had to get into that rhythm, kind of sit back and kind of see what was going on. It's obviously faster than the scout team runs it. They're getting up, getting on the ball. And, I think once we settled in and just we're like, all right, let's communicate. There's a crowd here. You got to silence the crowd. You got to just, hear each other and just figure it out and calm down. We'll be able to play our brand of football. And once we did, we kind of settled in and were able to do that.
You guys played 6 different linebackers, everybody getting in on the rotation. Is that what we're going to see throughout the season, and what's the benefit of that?
They want to rotate, keep everybody fresh, and, it kind of helped. I won't lie. Last week was kind of nice, and I think every week's going to be a change-up. It'll save us, because obviously there will be injuries at some point during the season. And to be able to have everybody has had a taste of being on the field, I think it'll make, the flow of the season better.
You've played against Kyle Shanahan led offense, and you've had success against that offense. But what is it about that offense that's difficult?
They do so many different things out of the same formations. You got to have your eyes right. And, with the playmakers they have, it's a dynamic special offense. Kittle, Debo, their running backs, the quarterback, that O-line. Kittle's one of the best tight ends in the league. So to be able to, hopefully to be able to take care of him this week, Debo and those receivers are, very special when the ball's in their hand. I think that's been the most impressive thing watching them on tape this week is yards after contact. It's all over the place from, the backs all the way through the receiving core.
How excited do you think Lincoln Financial Field is going to be on Sunday? You had all season where the fans couldn't come in last year. Tell me what you're going to feel when you go out onto that field on Sunday.
I don't think there's going to be a more special game, hopefully until we're playing in January, February this year, because just to have everybody back and kind of that energy, I don't know. The chills are already going down my spine. I can't wait. I hope we start on kickoff. I hope we're on defense first and we just get to, feel that crowd and use that crowd because I know it's going to be special.
Round 1 a success. Best of luck to you in round 2, Alex.
Yes, thank you.
So Singleton mentioning this Shanahan offense. Of course, this offense looked very different last year, personnel-wise for the 49ers. The Eagles' defense looked very different last year, scheme-wise for the Eagles. What do you think about the matchup for Singleton and the linebacking core today?
Well, as we talked about earlier, it's going to be a lot of mental gymnastics. It's all going to come down to the mental game because, as we mentioned when we closed warm-ups, they're trying to get you go side to side physically in the run game and the play-action game. When you have all of that skill talent with the scheme, with the guys like Kyle Juszczyk at fullback, George Kittle and Ross Dwelley at tight end. The wide receivers are also big-time blockers. The creative schemes from Kyle Shanahan, they try and do all these different things, but they all make everything look the same. And that's why mentally everybody's got to do their job on defense, handle your 111th, all of those different axioms that coaches like to use. This is a great example of that coming into play here against this offense.
I feel like I often sit at this desk and in this chair and just preach about how awesome I think Alex Singleton is because his story is just so amazing and the role he's built for himself here is amazing. When the list of captains came out this year, that was the one I squealed a little with delight when I saw that. I mean, what a big deal that is for him, especially considering where he came from, that he was in the CFL for a while, then he came here, practice squad player with the Eagles, got called up to the 53, moved to a starting role after a big preseason a couple years ago, and now a captain of this team. I mean, it's almost rhetorical, but can we say enough about this guy?
No, and obviously I think it's been said this week a lot about last year against the 49ers was a little bit of that breakout, right? He had that pick six, a big play in the game. That's really kind of when he jumped into the hearts of Eagles fans and has been a starter since that point.
Jumped into our hearts. Absolutely true. I want to touch on the Niners defense and the challenge for the Eagles here today because they are pretty banged up. This is going to be a completely different team than even what it was a week ago, but they do have some guys back from last year as well, namely Nick Bosa Bosa is going to be on that defensive line. But they're without both of their starting cornerbacks. Jason Verrett out for the season, I believe. Yes, out for the season. And then Emmanuel Mosley out today. Josh Norman recently signed, so he'll be there in the secondary as well. But what do you think about just the personnel that also playing today? Javon Kinlaw, Marcel Harris, Arik Armstead as well. The personnel on this defense.
The front is outstanding.
Yeah.
And when you look at Bosa and Armstead, one of the best defensive end duos in the league right now. They bring D Ford off the bench. They've got some other high picks that come up off the bench. Very deep, talented group along the defensive line. You mentioned getting Javon Kinlaw back, last year's first-round pick. He'll be playing inside. But I think when you look at this back seven, the big question was, because remember, they lost Robert Saleh, who was the defensive coordinator. He goes over to be the head coach of the New York Jets. What is that defense going to look like? Former Eagle D'Amico Ryans, now the defensive coordinator. What's the identity of that defense? And watching them last week, a lot of zone coverage, cover three. That's going to kind of help to hide some of those cornerback matchups. So I think that's going to be something to watch here. Can the Eagles find ways to attack San Francisco with those cover three schemes?
Yeah, that D'Amico Ryans story is pretty fun, too. Hot young defensive coordinator, worked his way up with the 49ers, now his first-year defensive coordinator for them as well. All right, it is about game time. Be sure to join us after this.
With the Rico extra point.
Yes, we have the Rico extra
Can't
point.
get out of here
Oh, my
before
gosh.
that. To me, I think the big thing, you talk about the strength, is that front. And we talk about Bosa and Armstead and all those guys. How are you going to combat that? Well, you can do it schematically. And here are the names. I mean, you go through. You've got Nick Bosa. I talked about Armstead. You factor in Javon Kinlaw coming in, now healthy. You could do that with a matchup standpoint. Sure, you can move the pocket, play action. Big thing, though, the screen game. Allow that rush to get upfield. And I think when you go back to the Eagles last week, we talked about the average depth of target for Jalen Hurts, a bunch of screen passes, not just to the backs, not just to Miles Sanders. You invite that rush up. Now you sneak the running back out behind it, and now all of a sudden that running back has a runway, right? But again, not just Miles Sanders, because we saw some screen passes to Dallas Goedert out in the flats or in the middle of the field between the hashes. Get him going with the head of steam. And then what do we see this to start the game with last week against the Atlanta Falcons? Get the ball out fast, just over a second, to Quez Watkins. Those quick RPO screens, those little bubble screens out to the flat, allow that speed to work for you as an offense. Gets the ball out of Jalen Hurts' hands fast. We saw the touchdown to Jalen Reagor in the fourth quarter. Same kind of concept, right? So you want to try and beat the rush. Make those defensive linemen chase that speed out to the perimeter. Nothing annoys a defensive lineman more than when the ball gets out in under 1.5 seconds.
Thank you for keeping me honest there, Fran, because I love your animations, and that train was leaving the station. So
I mean, look, we're all excited to get over to the stadium.
I'm very excited for this game. It is about game time now. As I was saying, be sure to tune into the post-game show presented by Rico after the show for instant analysis, press conferences from coaches and players. The Eagles ready to defend their home turf against the San Francisco 49ers. Enjoy the game, everybody, and fly, Eagles, fly.